Bonjour. Did you hear that? I just spoke French. That is the art of foreign languages. It's foreign, it's unfamiliar, and unique. For a second, you might have thought you were watching a French-made video, but in reality, you weren't. That's the power of filmmaking. Speaking of filmmaking, recently I have been trying to get into French cinema. And when I mean by trying, I mean really trying. Especially the French New Wave movement, and the filmmaker that I've started this expedition on is a filmmaker named Jean-Luc Godard with his film Breathless. In French, it's titled, hold on, let me get ready for this, Abu de Souffle? It started off with a character named Michel. Based on the opening, you could already tell he was the main character, because if you compared him to the people he encountered, most of them acted like an NPC from a video game. Why is she walking like that? And have a look at this one. Why are they waving like that? Anyway, Michel is notorious for being a thug, and you should definitely not ask him what his views on women are. But despite being crowned a thug, he easily panicked as soon as he saw that he was being chased by the police while driving a car he had previously stolen at the start of the film. With nowhere else to go, he eventually killed a policeman, which gives us this strange cut. This is because Michel isn't a thug at all. He is just a man pretending to be the kind of criminal he's seen in American gangster films. And maybe his views on women are all a facade too, because that's when we meet Patricia, an aspiring journalist who is a New Yorker who has an intimate relationship with Michel. We spend at least 1/3 of the film just watching this guy try to convince this girl to sleep with him inside an apartment where we can hear the busy streets from outside talking over their conversation.
La preuve, c'est que vous admirez Lafayette et Maurice Chevalier, alors que c'est justement les plus cons des Français.
Godard is famous for his jump cuts, characters talking directly after cinema, and the feeling that the movie is making itself up as it goes along. Those are his way of breaking conventions, which is why we get editing styles like this. The characters talking despite the background sounds, and characters looking directly at the camera, as well as moments like this.
J'essaie de fermer mes yeux très fort pour que tout devienne noir, mais je n'y arrive pas. C'est jamais complètement noir.
I admire what this film did more than I love the film itself. Godard often wants you to remember that you are watching a movie, as opposed to other filmmakers who hide the machinery. Godard shows you the machinery and tells you all the interesting things about it. He is definitely not the filmmaker you'd expect to have an emotional immersion on. Quentin Tarantino, who had also admitted that he was a fan of Godard films but he has completely outgrown him. Tarantino's dialogue is also often unrealistic. People don't normally spend minutes discussing hamburgers, Madonna's lyrics, or foot massages in the middle of a crime story. But the dialogue is memorable because it reveals character through performance rather than realism. The difference, I'd say, is that Tarantino uses stylized dialogue to make characters feel larger than life, while Godard teaches us that the characters live the way they live by watching movies. Most directors try to make you forget that the camera is there, so the characters feel real. Godard makes the camera obvious, yet somehow the conversations still pull you in, which is why I'm still excited to watch more of his work. Not because they're believable, it is because they're interesting. I love stylized dialogue. I love characters who sound like they were written rather than overheard. But there's something strange about Breathless. The way Godard constantly reminding me that I'm watching a movie, almost as if the fact that it's a movie is what gives him permission to make these characters so cinematic. So by reminding you that you are watching a movie, he can justify the fact that the way the characters in the film talk is unrealistic, which is why Michel is performing coolness as much as he's living it. The way I see confidence is definitely different, because if a director needs to write dialogue that is unrealistic and cheesy, it doesn't need to hide behind the fact that it's a film. Godard is considered confident, but with confidence it must also be unapologetic. If a film is going to write stylized dialogue, they have to commit to it. They don't have to justify it by reminding me it's a movie. Like, the work believes in itself enough that it doesn't need to explain or excuse its own style. But what Godard is basically asking here is the fact that why do we expect movies to imitate reality in the first place? He's challenging realism itself, and that's completely valid. I mean, I don't criticize Godard. If you're going to be artificial, let me enjoy the artifice. I treat stylized dialogue like a sweet treat, and the last thing I want is to be reminded how unhealthy they are. I'm definitely going to continue watching more of Godard, even if I'm probably going to outgrow him the same way Tarantino did. Because the guy himself is historically important, and the fact that I already see his fingerprint in all the filmmakers I love. There's nothing cowardly about making something unrealistic. What's cowardly is making something unrealistic and then hiding behind its artificiality when someone asks why it works. And here's the frustrating part. I don't really give a shit. I would still continue watching more. You can make something artificial, unrealistic, cheesy, and absurd, whatever you want. Just don't apologize for it. Or maybe that's just part of the work.
Je lui dis bonsoir, dis-lui en anglais. Comme ça, il osera rien dire. Les Français sont des trouillards.
Qu'est-ce que c'est tuyard?
Avoir peur.
Good night!